The fight that shocked the world. Douglas knocked out Tyson. Mike Tyson killed everyone. He was ruled by rage. Tyson began his career at the age of 18 and immediately destroyed rivals in the ring. For a year and a half, Mike had 27 fights and won each one, a crazy pace. Sometimes the interval between his fights was only a week. Mike would go into the ring and crush anyone. In 1986, he won his first championship title, knocking out Trevor Berbick in 2 rounds. Mike became the youngest heavyweight champion in history. On the day of the fight, he was 20 years and 145 days old. This achievement has not been surpassed so far. For 2.5 years, Tyson beat rivals and became the undisputed heavyweight champion of the world, collecting the WBA, IBF, WC, and the ring belts. After the end of his career, the boxer vividly described himself as a young man. At that time, I was a beast. I pulled on my gloves, went into the ring, and changed my personality. It wasn't Mike Tyson who boxed. It was something else. Then I did not realize that I could kill a person with a blow, but I could. I went out against guys who were much bigger than me, but I didn't pay attention to it. I was ruled by rage. In the early 90s, Tyson was supposed to face the former cruiserweight champion and the first contender for his titles, Evander Holyfield. The fight was planned for a long time, but Holyfield, after defeating Jamaican Alex Stewart, asked for time to rest and prepare for the main fight of his life. Tyson's team did not want to stand idle. Mike made his last defense in July 1989 and sat idle. That is why Tyson's promoter Don King suggested that the fighter conduct an intermediate defense and train before the big battle on Buster Douglas. The Japanese paid the largest boxing organization $6 million to hold another defense of Tyson in Tokyo. How much Japanese money fell into King's pockets is still unknown, but we are talking about 7-figure figures. Mike agreed. He didn't care who he had to beat. Douglas wasn't the top. He was knocked out 3 times. Buster Douglas was 29 years old. His father, Billy Dynamite Douglas, boxed successfully, 41 wins, 16 losses, and a draw, but was never a champion. Before the fight with Tyson, Buster was quoted as a mediocre heavyweight. 3 dozen fights, 4 defeats, 3 by knockout, and only 1 title chance. In 1987, when Iron Mike's ascent was just beginning, Douglas faced IBF champion Tony Tucker and lost by technical knockout in the 10th round. I think losing to Tony made me stronger. Yes, I was close to the target, but I realized that I could be close to her again. It was much more painful to lose the first time than in a title fight, Douglas recalled. Buster went on a series of 6 victories in a row, simultaneously interrupting the points of ex-champion Berbick and future champion Oliver McCall. 2 major victories gave Douglas another title fight against the monster Tyson himself. But everyone was sure that Buster was an easy dinner for Mike. Before the fight, the challenger took only 7th place in the ranking of heavyweights of the ring. No one took him seriously. Both boxers had problems before the fight. A lot of problems. At the end of 1988, Mike parted ways with manager Bill Clayton and coach Kevin Rooney. Don King fought with the manager for a long time on the ships, but parting with Rooney seriously affected physics and technology. Kevin was instrumental in honing his championship style and took on the role of mentor after the death of Cus D'Amato. After Rooney's departure, Mike won 2 fights on the old developments, but in the fight with Douglas, the coach was sorely lacking in the corner. In February 1989, Tyson took another blow. Divorce proceedings began with his first wife, Robin Givens. The marriage lasted exactly 1 year. Givens was afraid of her husband's manic outbursts. The boxer claimed that the actress was cheating on him. Mike himself said that he did not pay attention to the separation, but he began to behave differently. Tyson often scored in training. There were even rumors that he was knocked down a couple of times during sparring before the fight with Douglas. I can't say that I scored in training, but between fights, I really allowed myself a lot. There were girls, drugs, everything was there. But when I went to the hall in front of Douglas, I remember it exactly. At that moment, I was just training and fucking. It didn't end even when we arrived in Japan. Did I disassemble Buster? Of course not. "I haven't seen any of his fights," Mike said. For Douglas, too, things were not easy. There were 3 favorite women in Buster's life: his mother Lula, his wife Bert, and his mistress Doris. At one point, he lost them all. A month before the fight, the wife packed her things and left home. Doris, who gave the boxer a son, was in the hospital with leukemia and struggled with the last of her strength. And 3 weeks before meeting with Tyson, Lula's mother died. Buster's managers offered him to abandon the Japanese fight, especially since Lula asked him not to enter the ring with this rapid beast. But the boxer decided to fight. "I wanted to win for the sake of my mother. I'd be weak if I turned it down." Douglas's problems did not end there. The day before entering the ring, the athlete caught a cold, perhaps affected by a sharp change in climate. The temperature rose to 38. Buster took antibiotics all day long, but did not give up on the goal. No one believed in Douglas. Even Billy's father said that it would not be easy for him. Bookmakers accepted bets on his victory 42-1. Experts unanimously agreed that Tyson would destroy the challenger, and Associated Press journalist Ed Schuyler laughingly talked about the upcoming fight. "How long will I work in Tokyo? I don't think more than 90 seconds." Douglas dismantled and destroyed Tyson. Mike's team failed the fight. Mike didn't look like himself when he entered the ring. His eyes lacked the savagery that had been in previous fights. "It feels like his thoughts weren't at the Tokyo Dome at the time," said expert Larry Merchant. Buster, on the contrary, came out extremely charged. Family problems only hardened him. He wanted revenge. In the eyes of Tyson's previous rivals, fear was red. Buster did not have it. From the first rounds, he crushed his opponent with the jab, competently worked at a distance, using the advantage in height and arm span, and calmly blocked from the attacks of Iron Mike. Tyson looked straight forward. He only had a blow left, and the famous technique with dives and dodges was gone. Mike went forward, but without options. Douglas read it. "I survived his 3 in the first round. 2 blows flew into the shoulders, and then I thought, yeah, it's not so scary," Douglas recalled. Buster confidently fenced with the jab, powerfully and accurately. Douglas turned on a strong right hand rarely, but at the right moments. Largely thanks to the jab, the challenger achieved the main strategic advantage. In the 5th round, the champion's left eye was covered due to a hematoma. And then another problem of Tyson was revealed. His corner was not ready for the fight. Coach Aaron Snowell did not even make sure that the cut man had an iron and ice in case of cuts. They tried to cure Mike's facial injuries with a medical glove in which ice water was collected. Coach Teddy Atlas after the fight gave out the famous phrase, "Stupid mediocrities gathered in Tyson's corner. They wouldn't even teach fish to swim." Mike missed Kevin Rooney. He was also lacking during preparation. At the right time, Kevin could rein in the hot ardor of the champion. During the fight, Rooney read his opponents and made important hints to Tyson, and the course of the fights changed. Mike had some problems even in the fight for the title of Absolute with Tucker, but Rooney found a way out and the right words. Then, Tony shocked Tyson in the first round. The coach calmed Mikey down and brought him to his senses in a minute break. In addition, in the middle of the fight, Tyson injured his right hand and boxed exclusively with a jab for 5 rounds. It was Rooney who changed his tactics. Tyson lost strength, but still knocked down his opponent. At the end of the 8th round, the champion hit the crown uppercut. Referee Octavio Mayran counted very slowly, and at the count of 9, Buster rose. The gong immediately sounded. Only 2 rounds later, perhaps the most important fall in the history of boxing happened. It was like a movie. Already, Douglas hits an uppercut. An exhausted Tyson is shocked. Douglas catches up with Mike's head with a combination of 4 strokes. Tyson falls, kneels, tries to put a mouthguard in his mouth, rises to the count of 10 but barely stands on his feet. Mayran stops the fight and fixes the main upset in the history of boxing. The opinions of the judges seriously differed at the time of stopping the fight. American Larry Rosadia gave the victory to Douglas, 88-83, and the Japanese Ken Morita, 87-86 in favor of Tyson, and Masakazu Uchida, 86-86, all had a different opinion. If Tyson had made it to the final gong, the fight could have ended in a draw or his success. This victory for my mother is for the main woman in my life. Without her, there would be no me. May God protect her in the next world, said Buster after the fight. But Douglas could not really enjoy the victory. Tyson's promoter Don King appealed the referee's actions. King believed that referee May Rand had been counting down Buster's knockdown in the 8th round for too long, as much as 13 seconds. But the IBF immediately recognized Douglas's victory as legitimate. The WC and WA joined 4 days later. According to independent commissions, the referee during the countdown is guided not by time, but by the condition of the boxer. King is a bastard. He took away from me the 4 best days of my life. Instead of rejoicing in the victory, I waited for the decision of the commissions. Douglas was indignant. Buster received $1.3 million for the Japanese fight. Tyson's fee was $6 million. But fans around the world doubted the fairness of the fight. Many thought that Mike received a black fee for the defeat in order to then make a monetary rematch. American rockers The Killers even wrote a song dedicated to Japanese combat. The composition contains the lines, "How much did you get paid?" and "I felt that I was deceived." Douglas lost his titles in the next fight. Douglas and Tyson no longer met in the ring. Their careers took different paths. At the end of 1990, Buster lost all titles, losing by knockout in the 3rd round to Holyfield. Douglas was absolutely not ready for defense. He entered the ring 7 kilograms heavier than he was in the fight with Mike. Larry Merchant looked at the champion with a surprised look. "Look at his belly. Is this exactly the guy who put Tyson down?" Immediately after the fight, Buster retired. Even before meeting with Holyfield, King offered Douglas $10 million for a rematch with Tyson. Buster refused and received for the fight with Holyfield, according to various estimates, from $17 to $25 million. In the years that followed, Douglas spent money and ate a lot. A few years later, the boxer weighed 180 kilograms and even fell into a diabetic coma. After recovery, Buster returned to the gym and resumed his career in 1996. Fees for fights with Tyson and Holyfield flew away in 5 years. Douglas won 8 more fights against little-known opponents, held unsuccessful negotiations for a fight with Roy Jones, lost in 3 minutes by knockout to Lou Saviras, and finally retired from the sport in 1999. Now Douglas is doing business in Ohio. He built a hotel and a couple of stores, and also opened a hall in Columbus. Tyson returned 4 months after losing to Buster and dealt with Henry Tillman in 3 minutes. Iron Mike fought for another year with 3 wins and then went to prison for 3 years for raping 18-year-old model Desiree Washington. In 1995, Mike returned to the ring, became the champion again, but lost the title after meeting with Holyfield. Then there was a bitten off ear, several victories, a crushing knockout from Lennox Lewis, the end of his career, and bankruptcy. But now Mike has a marijuana plantation, and he feels very good.
Well friends, that's the end. Subscribe to the channel and expect new original videos every Thursday. Before meeting.